Hello. We interrupt this broadcast to give you a special announcement from Governor Mike DeWine. Regarding the coronavirus outbreak, the state of Ohio has decided to close schools forever. Wait a minute. This isn't Mike DeWine. Getting a source on the feed here. No. This is coming from Mr. Monteiro's Malevolent Mansion? No! No! No!
Well. By now, you've discovered my evil plot and seen it come to fruition. Yes, it was I, Mr. Monteiro, who unleashed the deadly virus onto the world, forcing us all to stay home and avoid all social interaction. Oh, why did I do it? I'm glad you asked. Think of it. A world without classroom management. Never having to ask for quiet. Never having to loan out pencils which don't return. Never having to ask Musa Bond not to do handstands on desks. Just peace and quiet. Meanwhile, I get to stay at home in my malevolent mansion, creating packets to torture children with grammar and literature!
Remember, children, that one may smile and still be a villain. At least it may be so in Columbus.
Hey guys, Mr. Monteiro here. Hope that you got a little bit of a laugh out of that video and my overflowing abundance of energy that I've got right now, or creative energy at least. Sorry that you have to be the victims of that, but I hope that you got a laugh out of it in these difficult times. Just a disclaimer, of course, I had nothing to do with the creation or spread of COVID-19, as far as I am aware, in terms of the spread at least. As far as that goes, I do hope that you are all safe and that your families are okay with everything that's going on, both in terms of employment and in terms of actual health and mental health, which, as you know, I'm always talking about and I always care about. So if you do find yourself, really anxious, nervous, hopeful, wanting to talk about anything that's going on, feeling any kind of emotions whatsoever, and you want to talk to someone, please shoot me an email, comment on this video. I'll be looking through the comments myself on my own channel. Just reach out and we're all here for you. All of us have talked extensively about how much we miss you, believe it or not. So if you need anything at all, please do let us know. In terms of what we're going to be doing today, I sent out the grammar packet for our first week of work, which I'm sure that you all have. I just wanted to go through everything one by one, each individual section, and see if I can clarify those, because I understand that a lot of people had some difficulties with it. I'll be putting timestamps in the description, or I'll be asking Ms. G to. I'm sure that some of you could figure out, a couple sections, but then there was one or two that didn't quite make sense. So I'll just have it in the description so you can go down and click, oh, okay, I really needed help with the possessive pronouns, so I can skip ahead to that and you don't have to watch the full 25-minute video, because I recorded that part in advance and I know that I took a lot of time talking about everything. So it's a really informative video for you. It's a long one though. Strap in if you'd like to. And love you guys. Miss you. Hope you have a great time.
All right, everyone, so we're going to get to the actual education portion of our video here, and we're going to go over the packet that I created and sent home for our first week with our extended spring break. I know that this packet was really difficult for a lot of you. I did get some emails and things like that. But grammar is just incredibly important, such a useful skill to be able to speak and write correctly and to recognize different grammar patterns, because it can also help you to understand different sentences that you're hearing or reading if they get complicated. So this is one of those skills that can be really useful if you go to college, or even just working with other people. If you want to email someone, well, it's helpful to make sure that you are writing correctly so that you come across intelligently, right? So I know that this packet was tough. What we're going to do is go through each section one by one. I'll do an example from each section and highlight how to do it, what the concept is that we're learning about, etc. So hopefully that can help. And of course, if you have any extra questions, comments, concerns, whatever, feel free to shoot me an email. My email will be at the end of the video. You could also just comment on the video right on the Zenith page, and be sure to subscribe so that you can see my future videos and the future videos from all of our wonderful teachers that we have, right? Okay, so getting right into it. Very first thing that we have are our Greek and Latin roots, which I'm sure you're all sick of since we already worked with them a lot. But these are just so important for building your vocabulary and being able to figure out what words mean without necessarily having context or without having a really good indicator of it. Well, the word itself can tell you what the word means if you know what these sorts of roots generally refer to. Now, initially when I set this up, it was asking you to, or the website I got it from was asking you to look up all of these roots yourself and figure them out yourself and write those down. That sounded like a lot of work that I really didn't need you to do. I thought it was more helpful to just give you these words and their roots so that you've got a reference guide that you can always use. You know it's accurate, and it can help you with this sheet, and just hang on to it because these are good things to know in general. So for our first section here, what we're doing is referencing these words here, using these words to form a word based on all of our roots up here. So we're going to take a word for this, or a root for this first word and a root for the second word, to put them together, make a new word. Some of these will make sense. Some of them you'll recognize, or you'll be able to kind of morph it into a word that we use regularly. A lot of them you will not, and they'll just kind of be a new word. Honestly, if you know enough about English, Latin, Greek, etc., that's the kind of thing you can do and get away with in your writing. Some of our best writers, like Shakespeare and Milton, did this all the time. So first one, we've got one sound. Well, we look up at our handy dandy chart up here, and we've got one being mono. I'm sure that you know this from a lot of different words, like monopoly. Someone who has a monopoly owns a share of, or owns the entire market of the thing, so they have the one business in a particular sector. And phono, meaning sound. So you could refer to headphones or a telephone. That's referring to the sound that they have. And hey, look at that. Tele, far, distant, sound. Telephone, far sound. There you go. But what if we only want one sound? I just want one of the sound. Well, we're going to put mono, phono together, and we're going to end up with monophone. But I know what you're thinking. Mr. Monteiro, what the heck is a monophone? Let's find out. So we're going to go to our dictionary online, Merriam-Webster. Make sure that you are always using reliable sources on the internet. Google responsibly. Now, monophone does not seem to actually be a word, but it fortunately, Merriam-Webster, the fine people over there, did give us a list of other words which are similar and might make sense. Now we've got monophony and monophonic. I went through these earlier and found the one that I thought fit the best, which was monophonic, an adjective referring to something that is a single, unaccompanied melodic line. So something that is monophonic, that is referring to music. So I can demonstrate this with my little guitar here. That would just be like, and that is just alone. If I don't accompany that, just that little guitar line, that is monophonic. If I accompanied it, it suddenly would not be. It would be probably polyphonic, many different sounds. But that was monophonic. It was just a single line of guitar. Now, looking up the actual word, you don't have to do, but I just thought this was a useful exercise for you to see that this is how we make words like monophonic. They don't just appear out of nowhere, they come from other words. So it's helpful to know where these words come from, and then you can apply them in all sorts of different magical ways. All right, next page, we're kind of doing the opposite. We are given some words which have a shared root, and we're going to go look up the definition for those words, see what they have in common, throw them together, and we'll see what that root probably means. So for number one, we have genesis and generator. We'll go to our dictionary and see that genesis refers to the origin or coming into being of something. It is a noun, so you could talk about the genesis of a new political movement. And then you also have a generator. If I'd move my bald head out of the way, that would be one that generates. Thanks, super helpful. But what that really means is something, for example, an apparatus in which vapor or gas is formed or created. So that seems similar to Genesis, where we're talking about the origin or coming into being of something, or similarly, when mechanical energy is changed into electrical energy. That's a generator, something which generates or creates, which is doing so. So Genesis seems to be having something to do, or that prefix, that has to do with creation, I think, or birth or creation. Those are the roots that I looked up to confirm, and that's exactly what it is. So you would just go through all of those the same way, looking up those definitions and then finding what is in common. Moving right along here, we have the bane of an English teacher's existence, these words that are commonly misused. So this is a huge chart of words that are similar but not quite the same, and where you just have to know the difference. Again, just like I said with English, sometimes there isn't a rule to something that you can latch onto and say, I know that I will always use this kind of word in this circumstance because this is the rule that we're following. Sometimes you just have to know what the different words mean and how you use them differently. So for this chart in this section, what we're doing is just looking at underlined words. We are underlining the correct word based on the context of the sentence. It would really help to teach English if I could read, right? But we're going to look at what they have in parentheses here, reference our chart, and choose the word that makes the most sense. So, grandma's house is further or farther than we remembered. This is a tough one. I actually tend to mix up these words myself pretty commonly in my speech. Now, farther is referring to a measurable distance. So going to school is farther than going to the grocery store for me. That's a measurable distance. Both of those are things where I could look at Google and it would tell me how many miles away those are. Further refers to something that is not measurable. So that's when you're using this word metaphorically. So I want to go further than man has gone before. Well, that just means I want to accomplish more than other men, but I can't measure how far men have gone, or humans if we want to be inclusive, which of course I do. So in this case, grandma's house is further or farther than we remembered. Well, I could measure the distance to my grandma's house, and in fact, I have. Look, it's about 548 miles away. Okay, so in that case, it is a measurable distance, and farther is correct. Grandma's house is farther than we remembered.